We're months away from the assembly elections in Tamil Nadu, and once again, temples are the big focus in the political fight. It's a constant debate. Should temples be regulated, governed by the government? And it's something, of course, that's also seen a political discourse in Tamil Nadu at a heated debate. Now, you've got Edappadi Palaniswamy in an event, in a rally yesterday, alleging that DMK is siphoning off funds meant for temples that people were donating for temple development and building colleges, educational institutions with it. Now, the DMK has lashed out at EPS over the statement, saying what's wrong. It's been done for many years now and will continue to do it, that temple funds are being used for development, for educational institutions to be set up. And while this debate goes on, essentially, while the DMK and aiadmk are squaring off on what really should be done with temple funds, the reality is, once again, what's in the focus is about whether temple funds should be kept solely for the development of temples or whether it should be used for the development of the state. Is that the case with other religious sites as well? We'll talk about that. First, take a look at this report where we get you all of the reactions.
As Tamil Nadu gears up for elections next year, it's temples and faith that's once again in the election spotlight. A political storm has erupted in Tamil Nadu over the use of temple funds to build government colleges, with aiadmk chief and former CM Edappadi Palaniswamy accusing the DMK-led government of diverting donations meant for temples to construct art colleges.
அது இருக்கிற பணத்தை எல்லாம் எடுத்து கல்லூரி கட்ட ஆரம்பிக்கிறாங்க. ஏங்க, கோயில் கட்டுறதுக்காக உங்களை போல் இருக்கின்ற நல்ல உள்ளம் படைத்தவர்கள், தெய்வ பக்தி படைத்தவர்கள் உண்டியில போய் பணம் போடுறீங்க. அது அறநிலையத்துறைக்கு சேருது. அது எதுக்காக சேருது? எதுக்காக நீங்க உண்டியில பணம் போடுறீங்க? அந்த கோயில் அபிவிருத்தி பண்ணணும், அந்த கோயில் விரிவுபடுத்த வேண்டும், அதுக்காக நீங்க போடுறீங்க. அந்த பணத்தை எடுத்து கல்லூரி கட்டுறாங்க.
Palaniswamy's remarks sparked sharp backlash from the ruling DMK, with Endowments Minister Sekar Babu accusing him of ignorance.
EPS is speaking without knowledge of history. Chief ministers who have passed away now have also done this. We have been using funds from temples for humanitarian needs. I will hold a special press meet on this and address it fully. EPS is drowned in darkness of ignorance.
His DMK colleague TKS Ellen Goman also defended the government's actions, pointing out that temples have historically supported colleges in Tamil Nadu.
Temple fund is used for construction of a college. I can quote at least 15 colleges run by the temples. What is wrong in it? But he should not. He had fallen at the feet of Jayalalitha to become a minister. Now he is falling at the feet of Modi and BJP to save his son and his relatives.
AIADMK and BJP leaders, however, doubled down on their criticism, accusing the government of financial mismanagement and hurting the sentiments of devotees.
What is the need to take the money out of the offerings that are given by the devotees and spending it on constructing colleges? This clearly exposes the financial mismanagement, incapability and incompetence of the government. This is what he questioned. Rather than giving the answer, trying to enter into individual slandering and trying to brand as RSS and RSS ideology.
DMK is a very anti-Sanatan party, and in line with that, they are very slowly trying to dissuade people from coming to temples by causing a lot of discomfort. They want people to not come to temples. You know, it causes a sort of frustration that they have to go stand for 8 hours, 10 hours. So they're trying to cause sort of frustration to make sure that people stop visiting temples.
As the war of words escalates, the core question remains: should temple funds be used to secure welfare like education, or must they be utilized strictly for religious purposes? When it comes to faith funding education, where should the line be drawn? Bureau Report, India Today.
Let me bring in Anaga Keshav for the latest updates from Chennai on this. Anaga, like I mentioned, this has been a big bone of contention for the last many years in Tamil Nadu. But take us through really what prompted Edapadi Palaniswamy to talk about this particular instance, saying temple funds are being used to construct colleges.
Well, in fact, Edapadi Palaniswamy was in Coimbatore during his election campaign that kicked off on Monday. That's when in Coimbatore he made this statement by saying that the large sums that the devotees had donated to temples for its development and to create areas and create amenities for the benefit of the devotees. Why should this fund be diverted and used for construction of colleges is what Edapadi Palaniswamy is asking. But the but the DMK has defended this move by saying that there are so many colleges that's run by Christian missionaries. There are so many other colleges that's being run by mosques, by Muslims as well. Why is it that we can't have colleges that come under the wing of temple administration? Why can't we use funds for that? In fact, the DMK also said that education equals God. So when we have fund that's allocated for temples, why can't we use that for a purpose that's as noble as education is what the DMK is asking. In fact, Barbs also grew stronger with the DMK minister saying that Edapadi Palaniswamy first of all became a minister by being, by appeasing Jayalalitha, and now he's trying to become a stooge of RSS and BJP in order to save his son. And that's why Edapadi Palaniswamy is trying to push for a soft Hindutva agenda is what the DMK is saying. But now since Edapadi Palaniswamy has already begun his statewide tour for elections, we can expect more such barbs between ADMK, DMK and BJP from now onwards.
You know, the reality is that right now the DMK is attacking Edapadi Palaniswamy, saying the reason he's talking about temples, the reason he's talking about temple funds is because of the AIADMK's tie-up with the BJP. So they're saying that this is EPS, in their own words, turning Sanghi with these kind of comments. Thanks, Anaga, for joining us with those details. Joining us here on Super 6, we've got Sumant C. Raman, political commentator and analyst, joining us from Chennai, Kovai Satyan, spokesperson of the AIADMK, and N. Ramasubramanian, political analyst, who's also a panel member of the HR and CE committee. That's the Hindu Religious Endowments Committee, essentially, that looks into the temples that are regulated by the Tamil Nadu government. Mr. Sumant C. Raman, I'd like to begin with you. What do you make of this entire controversy? Do you see merit in what EPS says at this point when he questions why temple funds should be used to build colleges?
First of all, Akshita, we have to understand that the temples are not owned by the government. The temple funds do not belong to the government. They belong to the temples. And this distinction is very cleverly being sought to be erased. Look, if this was government money, nobody can question a government using it for whatever purpose they think it is necessary. This is not their money. This is like saying that I will take your money and I will spend it. Now, the point is very simple. The role of the government in the temples is twofold. One is to carry out audits, for which they take away nearly 20% or 25% of the temple revenue as audit fee, which is probably the highest anywhere in the world. I think you can get the top consulting firms to carry out audits for far less. The second is to ensure that the administration of the temple happens in accordance to the trustees who are there in the temple. Most of the temples in Tamil Nadu do not have trustees. At least the large temples, many of them are running without trustees, without the decision makers who can take these decisions whether you want to run a college or not run a college.
Yeah.
In the good old days, for instance, the Palani Andavar temple in Palani, they opened a college way back in 1963. That was a backward area. There was a dire need for enhancing education. You know what this present government has done? They've taken money from Kabalishwara temple and opened a arts and science college in Kolattur, the chief minister's constituency. What does Kolattur have to do with the Kabalishwara temple? Okay, you open it in a rural area, give education for rural students, it's fine. Somebody else takes Tiruchendur temple's this thing and then opens a college in Vilatikulam, which is 70 kilometers away. I mean, this is not money which belongs to the government, for God's sake. And Mr. T.R. Ramesh, who's a very prominent temple activist, has got 6 stay orders from the Madras High Court, which has stopped this further, wanton sort of distribution of temple money. Now, can you take the money from a church organization or a Waqf board and start saying, I will build education? The issue is not about education institutions. Temples can build educational institutions if due process is followed. That decision has to be taken by the devotees
Yeah.
organization, by the temple boards and the trustees, not by the ministers sitting in HR and CE department. Clearly, we know
Okay.
of why this is being done, because they love large construction projects. Politicians love it for obvious reasons that you know, and that is why a systematic decimation of the courts have already intervened multiple times and stopped further construction of colleges.
Yeah. So
This
does
is
it come down essentially to one issue of corruption, of misuse of power, and whether regulations right now are being ignored? Mr. Ramasubramanian, as a panel, as a committee member of the HR and CE department, sir, what do you have to say to questions that are being asked right now of how this department is being run? The examples that Mr. Suman C. Raman gave, for example, of a temple in Mylapore in Chennai actually going ahead and funding an institution in Kolattur, nowhere close to Mylapore.
Yeah, Mr. Suman C. Raman has mentioned about certain issues which may be really relevant. I don't dispute what he says. But at the same time, there is nothing wrong in using the surplus funds for the development of the state through education. See, in the case of Kolattur, where there is a college and the money has been used from Kapalishwara temple, a decision has been taken. I also know Mr. T.R. Ramesh, who is a very close friend of mine for a very, very long time. There is nothing wrong in using the funds for development of education.
No, it's a larger question. I agree with you, sir, that, any funds being used for development, for learning, for helping children is good. But the manner in which it's being done, is protocol being followed? Is this, a decision being unanimously taken by a government? That's not the case. I'm sure you can enlighten us on the protocol, the process that's to be followed.
Definitely, it is not the minister who takes a decision. I think Mr. Raman is not correct that the decision has been taken by the HRNC minister. No, it is through due process, and this is the same procedure which has been followed for a very long time. For example, I was brought up at Chidambaram. That's a place, there is a college, arts college, which has been established by Mr. V.V. Swaminathan, AIADMK member, minister earlier. He established that with the money from Thiruvairukadu. Where is Thiruvairukadu and where is Chidambaram? Very far away. But still, the money has been used for setting up an arts college there. And likewise, in Payani, an engineering college has been established by AIADMK. Mr. EPS was the chief minister when this has happened.
Okay,
And
you've
there
raised
are-
an important point. You've given me instances also, and I'll bring in Mr. Kovai Satyan of the AIADMK on this. Mr. Kovai Satyan, you've got Edapadi Palaniswamy now accusing the government of taking money that is meant for temple development being used to set up educational institutions. And you've heard now from Mr. Ramasubramanian, who's given instances of the AIADMK doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, let me brief for the benefit of the US. 51 arts and science colleges, 6 law colleges, and 11 medical colleges and university all were planned, executed, funds allocated by our leader EPS while he was the chief minister. Of all these, not even 1 rupee is from the HRNC, 1 rupee is from the temples. So the question here is the financial management and how it is being done. Is it the need of the hour? And DMK takes pride stating that Tamil Nadu state has achieved the #1 in terms of GDP with 9.69. So which means that the treasuries are not empty. You are collecting tax, direct and indirect taxes. And mind you, this state is the #1 borrower among all the other states in India, borrowing in an average of 1.25 lakh crore every year. So where does all this money go? Does this money go in populist schemes? There is not even one populist blue-eyed scheme of MK Stalin and DMK government since he assumed office, which clearly indicates the mismanagement and misprior incompetence of this government. And one more question that comes here is, last year, the temple gold which were offered by the devotees were melted, and this government makes about 18 crore as interest alone. Our leader didn't question at that point of time. But now why he has raised this question is, it is evident that the financial management is in dogs. And the priority of this government is different. He never said that you should not construct colleges, you should not do. He himself is standing example how a better financial management can happen. And why is DMK is not able to rise up and give proper answers how their finances are being managed?
Okay, the question here also, Mr.
more
Kobe
than 3.5
Satyan, is
lakh
the
crores.
DMK says that these are surplus funds of the temples that are being used to construct educational institutions.
Madam, I'll give you an example. Last week, MK Stalin went and opened a super specialty hospital in Vellore, and 3 days ago it is shut down because there are no equipments, there are no doctors, and there are no nurses. So where does the priority of this government comes? Surplus funds is an excuse given by this government for their wrongdoings and wrong deeds.
No.
Okay,
And
Sumansi
financial
Raman
management
wants
is
to
in
make a point.
shambles.
Very important. They want to build shopping complex using temple money. It was stayed by the Madras High Court in January this year. I mean, this is mockery and absolute insult to lakhs of devotees of temples. This government actually wanted to build shopping complexes with temple money, with devotees' money, and that was stayed in January this year by the Madras High Court, which said that surplus temple funds can be used only for activities which are connected with the religious, duties and so on. So, commercial ventures. So this is not only that college. They are very cleverly taking this word college because people will say, why not build a college? What is the harm? They want to build shopping complex. Please ask Mr. Ramasubramanian to deny that. Whether in
Mr.
January
Ramasubramanian,
2025 Madras High Court gave a stay or not.
is this something that, is going by due protocol? You're saying due process is being followed, ministers not okaying it. Are you telling me that a temple trust is okay with money being used for building a mall, for building a supermarket?
As Mr. Raman said, yes, this has been stayed. But I am of the view that the case has not been properly argued in the court of law. The reason is in and around the temples, there are n number of shops that they are all selling very many items which are meant for the darshan, doing some religious services in the temple. So when you can have n number of shops, where is the wrong deed in having a complex and asking those shops to be in that particular premise? There is nothing wrong about it. But I am of the view that this I have already highlighted. The case has not been properly argued in the court of law, and therefore the case has been stayed. But it is not the final verdict. It is only the stay that has happened.
No, but the reality is, sir, that there have been multiple such cases in courts, multiple such cases where the Madras High Court has said, no, this is overstepping.
No, I'm telling you, it is not only, forget about this shopping complex. There are n number of education institutions which are run by the temples, HRNC managed temples. I know very well about the schools, about the colleges, about the engineering college. In fact, I visited one of the colleges in Parani, which has been started by...
there's no question about it that the existing colleges that are run right now by the temple trusts are good, is providing a lot of help, is ensuring opportunities. There's no doubt about that. But I want to focus on the law right now. And Mr. Ramasubramanian, I'm going to come back to you once I brief our viewers on what the law exactly says. That these temples that are regulated are essentially regulated courtesy the HRNCE Act of 1959 in Tamil Nadu. There are about 30,000 plus temples that are currently being regulated by the state. So the funds essentially that come in from this must serve Hindu religious or charitable purposes. That is what clearly the law says. Now, if there's going to be diversion, and there have been cases of educational institutions also being set up, diversion needs prior approval. From whom? From advisory bodies, from the HR and CE commissioner as well. There have been multiple court rulings that have said very clearly that temple funds are separate. It's not state revenue. They've clearly demarcated the two. But the debate constantly is, look, has the government mixed the two up? Is temple funds used as state revenue? Now, clearly at this point, it's also stated that unauthorized diversion, that is, if you don't follow the due process, something like that is punishable and order to obligated as well. So the Hindu bodies have a constitutional right to manage these religious affairs. That's what the law states. Now, I'll come to one technical aspect and I'll bring in Mr. Ramasubramanian on this, which is, sir, that everyone talks about the provision 66(1) of the HRCE Act, which doesn't allow the HR and CE department to go ahead and take a decision, a unanimous decision to establish colleges. That's where the concern is, that now there seem to be unanimous decisions being taken right now without getting the temple trusts on board.
I think when we are beating about the bush, we have to understand one thing very clear. It is not bypassing the procedures. Yes, the procedures have been followed. And why when the four colleges which have been established by DMK, including Kolattur, that has been upheld by the court. The due process has been followed. Therefore, you cannot say that what do you mean by a religious purpose? It is only for prasadam, that is to be, the money has to be used, or having the meals 2 times or 3 times a day, that is religious? No, certainly not. There are any number of temples which have surplus funds also. For example, take the case of Payani.
Question that will then come up is, what about surplus funds from other religious sites? Why is that something that's also not used for development besides what churches and mosques do themselves? Why aren't government-regulated bodies stepping in there?
They are different. They are absolutely different. I mean, this has been already upheld by the Supreme Court. HR and CE has been upheld as a valid statute. And the SC also has mentioned, it has given a ruling that mosques and churches, they are a separate entity and that cannot be interfered unless some act is passed and that is questioned. Till such time, only the Hindu temples, under HR and CR or whatever may be the law, that is monitored by the government, and the HR and CE department has been, allowed as a statutory body to regulate, manage the affairs of the temple. That can never be questioned. Is there any law or prohibition that HR and CE is invalid and it is not in accordance with the law?
No, not invalid, like sir. The question is whether process is being followed and whether there's been room now for misuse.
Who is to decide it is a misuse?
So if a temple that's established in one location and an educational institution is set up several kilometers away, there will be questions about how these locations are being chosen and why.
Kindly listen to me. There are many colleges, including technical education institutions, and n number of schools which are run by temples, HRNC temples. Are you going to question everything? Is everything illegal? Is it against the principles of law? There is nothing like that. I think now it has become the fashion to call a paint DMK government as a Neti's government. It is absolutely improper. I know very well. In fact, if you give me time, I can speak for about half an hour as to what the government has done to for the sake of Hindu religion and the temples, promotion of temples, temple cars.
We will ensure, Mr. Ramasubramanian, that we call you in for another longer discourse and discussion on this so that we give you an opportunity also to make those points. But I have to wrap up now. Just closing comments from Mr. Sumant C. Raman. Looking at what's been happening right now and this entire debate that's gone on for so much time, do you think the problem here is the fact that, we need perhaps more ways to be able to manage, or rather be able to ensure that the HR and CA operates in a transparent manner? So there are full details out in the open?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everybody agrees that there is a loot of gargantuan proportions going on in temples. And to be fair, it has happened in previous governments also. It's not that suddenly only this DMK government has been doing it. Previous AIDMK government also were adopting pretty much the same policies. It's a welcome decision that Mr. Edapadi Palaniswamy is no longer apologetic about it, about these issues. Normally, AIDMK, especially in the absence of a tall leader like Jayalalitha or MGR, will shy away from getting into this debate because they know that they will be pushed on the back foot by the DMK. But I think for the first time, Mr. Edapadi is actually throwing down the gauntlet. If you want to call him a Sanghi, please go ahead and call him. That's what he's actually saying. He is saying, look, and the point is the facts that he's speaking are correct. Now, whether they will resonate with the voter is different, because the DMK has complete control of the media. And they, from yesterday itself, even of his speech, only edited clips were being put out. That Edapadi Palaniswamy says temple money should not be used for colleges. Whereas the whole speech where he was saying that we have opened so many colleges, we are not against the opening of colleges, but why is it being done using these funds? That was his question. So I think the attempt is very clear to paint him as somebody who is now part of the BJP itself, and try to say, because the entire DMK campaign is built on one single plank. They are not going to the voter and saying, vote us back because we have done wonderful things for you. They are going to the voter and saying, if you don't vote for us, BJP will come into Tamil Nadu. That is the single agenda for this campaign. And that is why these issues, you will see more of them in the coming months in the run-up to the election.
Let's see if the narrative works for either side, essentially, with the AIADMK now raising up this plank, which previously the BJP has raised, the AIADMK now also talking about the misuse of temple funds. This is narrative work for the AIADMK, for that matter the DMK, when they put up the counter narrative that EPS has become a Sanghi, in their words. Thank you very much, Dr. Sumant C. Raman and Mr. Ramasubramanian, for your time, for joining us here on India Today.